Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this 24th day of April. A lot of blockbuster news here tonight. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers officially being traded to the New York Jets. Now this is over with. Who won? The breakdown. Where are they going to draft? Worst case scenario for the Jets. Cap hits. Now what for the Packers? I'll get into all that, decipher all that. That's all I've been doing this afternoon. The NBA playoffs, I've got some good sound bites from Draymond Green. I've got some good sound bites from Draymond Green and basically saying why this guy has been helped this team win 4 championships despite his actions, despite his fouls and everything. So we'll go ahead and get our only breakout, and I'll be back here in 49 seconds here on Sports Scope. If I could get my situated here. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to Sports, that is Sports with an S, another S, Scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All righty then. Now I'm back here live on All Links. Okay, so let's break this down. Okay, now the Jets have traded for Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers goes to the Jets. All right. Here's my big take already off the bat is the Jets did not have to give up they did not have to give up a first-round pick. They swapped and went down from 13 to 15 because Joe Douglas, I think he has a tackle or a few tackles, offensive tackles in mind that he wants to put on his team, and he really did not want to give that up, okay? So he did not want to give that up. They didn't have to do that. That's a big win in its own right there. Okay. They had 2 second-round picks, both in the 40s. The Jets gave up one of their second-round picks. And, of course, the Jets get back a 5th-round pick from the Green Bay Packers. All right. So the Packers get the 13th now. So they get the 13th pick. All right. They just move up 2 spots there. They get a second-round pick with their second-round pick that they already have, a 6th round, and this conditional 2024 first or second round, depending on how many snaps Rodgers takes. My guess is I think that they'll end up giving up that first-round pick, which is, if this team's successful, which I think they will be, it'll be in the 20s, It'll be in the 20s. So you give up a pick in the 20s. You've got a franchise quarterback. Now, Rodgers won't be 40 until December, folks. He won't even be 40 until December. You got to keep in mind, this team was a top 5 defense last year, okay? This was a top 5 defense, this Jets team. Remember, they beat the Packer team. They beat the Buffalo Bills last year, beat Josh Allen. They were basically 1 play away from beating the New England Patriots. They beat the Dolphins. There's a chance they could simply be favored to win this division. Now, I haven't got that far into it, but you got to look at what the Jets are going to do here in the draft. You got to look at the roster as it's assembled right now, folks. So let me go back here. I know I did a lot of screenshotting, just trying to break down. So my initial reaction is the Jets won this They won this trade. Okay. This is the Jets picks. They'll have the 15th pick. They still got the 43rd pick. They've got the 112, which is in the 4th round, and they've got the 5th round pick. All right. Now, they still got Corey Davis on their roster. Okay. So who's he throwing to? Well, Garrett Wilson won Rookie of the Year last year. All right. He's a true number one receiver. Without a doubt, he's a true number one receiver. Corey Davis, they could cut him. They could cut or trade him by Thursday. That's just my opinion. They may keep the guy. He's like a $10 million something cap hit. They may do some adjustments around there. Keep an eye on that. They've got Allen Lazard, probably a 3, and maybe they go out and get another receiver. So my thing is, Micaiah Becton is probably not the guy they want to bring back at left tackle. So, like I said before, I think they probably take Darrell Wright or Broderick Jones at 15, the Jets, to put that person in left tackle or to compete at left tackle. Kind of like the Tampa Bay Bucks did when they drafted Thurston Wirfs in the 1st round. A lot of us thought they were going to take a running back or another skill player. No, they took Thurston Wirfs. Turned out to be a good play. They end up winning the Super Bowl. Okay, so my guess is in that 1st round pick, they're going to take one of those tackles to come in and compete and possibly move him inside if that player cannot compete there. All right. So you look at that. I've already mentioned the skill position players. Corey Davis, obviously Garrett Wilson. They signed Mecole Hardman for peanuts. He's a speedy guy. He's dealing with his former offensive coordinator there that used to be the coordinator at Green Bay before he got the head coaching job with Denver. Do not get bad head coach mixed up with bad offensive coordinator. Norv Turner, excellent. I just read the Jimmy Johnson book. Norv Turner, excellent offensive coordinator. Okay. Terrible head coach. Okay. So don't get that mixed up. Those two mixed up. I think that's going to be fine as far as offense. Now, as far as getting used to the new players, by the way, Rodgers, he says, no, that's okay. I do not want to take the number 12. This is what he said. Joe Namath said, listen, you got my blessing to wear number 12. Rodgers says, no, thanks. I want to take number 8. That is what I wore at Cal. Okay. He says, that's what I wore at Cal. Yeah, Breece Hall's coming back from a serious injury. This Zidanian Knight is also a option there at running back there. He's moved ahead of Michael Carter. Could they pick up another running back in the 4th round? Yes, possibly. So I do think that short-term wise, overall, I do think the Jets won this draft. Now, this is the key. Took a while to get these numbers in, but if these numbers are correct, and usually Spot Track, Daniel Hackett, thank you, Pickles. Spot Track is usually spot on. That's Daniel Hackett there. So here's the numbers that if you're a Jets fan, you really have to pay attention to. All right. Now, this year, okay, what's the cap hit? What's the dead money? The cap hit for the year. This year's cap's like 225, 229 and some change, right? You want that to be around between 10 and 12% of the cap. Check, Jet fans. This year, his cap hit is 15.7. That's really good, Jet fans. That's 15.7 million. Very good. That is, I'll tell you how good the cap hit that is. That cap hit is less than some 5th-year options on teams. For example, CeeDee Lamb, 5th-year option. A wide receiver, $17.99. All right. Not the case here. So his cap hit this year will be 15.7. Now that goes up to 32.5 next year, but the cap goes up next year. So the next 2 years, their cap hit will be somewhat team friendly. So you got a 230. The cap's supposed to go up to 255 and some change next year. His cap hit next year is 32 million. All right. So that's right around 12.5%. That's winnable, Jet fans. That's winnable. All right. Then that cap hit actually goes down. Then it explodes in 25 and 26. It goes up to 51 million. Now, here's the thing, though. After next year, their dead cap. Other words, if he wants to retire after 24, well, for one thing, if he retired next year, they're $24 million cap hit. So that's not the end of the world. I've seen worse. So if he retired next year, the Jets $24 million cap hit. Remember, Sauce Gardner was a Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year. Garrett Wilson, Offensive Rookie of the Year. You're not paying these guys any big amounts of money. All right. So big hits there for Joe Douglas. Looks like he may have missed on Barry Tucker. Obviously missed on Zach Wilson. But his dead cap. So if you get 2 years out of Rodgers, this is going to be a total win here. Ideally, you would like for him to play 2 years, win a Super Bowl, and retire, because his dead cap in 25 is 16 million. Then it goes down to 8 and 26, and that's the end of the contract. So this is not a, oh my God, we have to win the Super Bowl, or our organization is in disarray for years to come. No. The Jets have drafted well. The Jets have had a top 5 defense. By the way, Sauce Gardner, the cornerback, he was rated the best cornerback in the league last year as a rookie. Okay. You got second year with him, second year with Garrett Wilson. You just filled up with young defensive players. Rodgers does not have to go in here and set the world on fire. Okay. So my guess is first round, grab one of those tackles second round, maybe take a Jalen Hyatt type of player. Okay. If you don't want to add at receiver, their receiving core is not that bad as it is right now. Maybe you take another guard, another inside player there that may fall to the second round, an interior offensive lineman, because they don't need any defensive players. They got it up front and they got it on the back end, maybe add some depth at pass rusher. So they don't need a lot of draft picks. So there's not a lot of need for this team. So I looked at FanDuel. And their Super Bowl outright winning chances are plus 1,400. You say, well, that sounds pretty crappy. This is the teams that they're above right now. The Jets are favored over the Jacksonville Jaguars, the LA Chargers, the Miami Dolphins in their own division, the Cleveland Browns with Deshaun Watson, Pickles, Denver Broncos with Russell Wilson and Sean Payton, all right, and they're slightly favored over the Detroit Lions, who took a hit, and the Baltimore Ravens. They're favored over the Baltimore Ravens. So you say, what teams are above the Jets? All right. The Dallas Cowboys are tied with the Jets at plus 14. The Cincinnati Bengals would probably be my favorite on the 24th day of April to win the Super Bowl. They're at plus 1,000. The 49ers are ahead of them at plus 900. Tied for plus 900 at Buffalo and Philadelphia. Philadelphia's not going back to the Super Bowl. History says it. Although I like Philly and everything they do, history says they won't. Kansas City's favored at plus 600. Kansas City got a little cute with their offensive line movement. I don't love Kansas City to get back. I don't like Philadelphia to get back. Now, Buffalo, maybe Buffalo gets back. Maybe if Buffalo makes a move and gets a Derrick Henry, somebody like that. That rumor was out again this week with Philadelphia. But maybe Buffalo gets, into a running game here. They pick up another receiver, maybe to get DeAndre Hopkins, somebody like that. I like what Josh Allen said about he realizes he's got to stop running so much, possibly. But I like Cincinnati the best because they picked up Orlando Brown. They still got a lot of very good players. And, of course, the 49ers and the Cowboys are definitely a sneaky team to get in there. But just below tied with the Cowboys are the New York Jets, folks. So if you're a New Yorker, you've got to be ecstatic right now. You got a 3-1 lead. You got a chance to win a series here. The Knicks do. First time since 2013 they've won an NBA playoff series. You've got the Jets over here that are up here in the top, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The top 5 in Super Bowl outright winning. I would just be happy with getting to the playoffs and maybe winning a game. Okay. My thing would be if you keep Aaron Rodgers healthy and keep a decent running game, I think this team will be in playoff contention and Super Bowl contention. I don't have any reason to state why I wouldn't see it that way. Pickle says Quentin Williams is already locked in at defensive tackle. That's your nose of the ball. You have a very good secondary. Yes, New England's going to give you pushback. New England don't have the firepower you got now. You know, they're going to play New England well. They've already beat Buffalo. Could the Dolphins do something? Yeah. But how long is Tua going to stay up, guys? How long is Tua going to stay up? You know, Pickle says they need a fast start. The schedules have not came out yet. We know who the opponents are. We know what the conference is. We know what the division is. I want to see how they look in training camp, how early Rodgers. Hopefully he'll go to one of these camps that's starting up next week or so. I think this week, actually, those pre-mini camps. I hope he goes to those other mandatory mini camps. He's got his old Cal jersey number back. He's going to sell a ton of them. I'm sure Mr. Woody Johnson, he's always livid on Twitter. Very excited. A lot of jerseys. The number 8, the Cal number 8, that's what he's going to. He's not going to take Joe Namath's jersey number. I can't see why they're not going to be competitive and a legit Super Bowl contender. Now, what's the flip side? You say, well, what about the Packers? All right, well, the Packers, now, mind you, even if Love is a total just bust, you know, if Love cannot play and you look at Love as saying, man, I'm not in love with Love at all whatsoever. This team, now, mind you, they traded Devontae Adams and got a first and second round pick for him. Okay. They traded Adams. Let me make sure I got this. So they've moved up to 13. Now, I was looking at some of their players. I had them taking Nolan Smith originally, the edge rusher out of Georgia, and maybe they still do that. But now that I think about it and look at their roster, Romeo Doubs looked good for about 2 games last year. He's too inconsistent, okay? Now, Christian Watson, yeah, he's the real deal, okay? Aaron Jones, he's the real deal. A.J. Dillon at running back, he's a little slow. But I'm looking at their tight end position, and Josina DeJura, no. That tight end, they've had him. He's got like 10 catches in the last year or so. Got him out of 2020. He was in the 2020 draft. Not so fast. Way the old guy used to say on College Game Day. So the way I see it, I got with that high pick at 13, I could see one of these tight ends being coming off the board at 13. And this guy, let me make sure I got his name right. Dalton Kincaid, tight end for Utah. Would he fit in good in Green Bay, Wisconsin? The tight end from Utah. What's the best friend of a young quarterback? What's the best for? It's a good tight end, Carlos. Now, Michael, but every site I read, every analyst, they all point to Kincaid being the best tight end in this draft. It's supposed to be the best tight end draft in like 10 years. Okay. This Kincaid from Utah, good fit. I'd pick him at 13. Okay. Now they've got 2 second round picks. All right. What do you do with the second round picks? Do you just simply get that edge rusher that you wanted to get if one fits your mold in one of those second round picks, and then turn around and throw another receiver in there? Okay. Maybe the guy from TCU falls. All right. Some say maybe the 13th pick you get the Jackson Nijba guy from Jason Nijba Smith, I think is his name, from Ohio State. I would prefer to go with the tight end because I think these, from what I've been reading over the last two, Tanyan's no longer there. Pickles, I think he moved to the Bears or something as a number 2 tight end. Anyways, do you just simply, I would probably take that tight end because he's a very high-end tight end, this Kincaid from Utah. Take a guy like that in that second round. Then if the value's there, then you take another receiver. Watson's the real deal. So you've got the true number 1, okay? You got the true number 1. Then you've got then you've got the tight end. So now you are starting to load this guy with some picks, okay? Last year they had 4 in the top 60. This year they've got 4 in the top 100. Like I said, they had a first and second for Adams last year with their first and second. They got players like Wyatt, the defensive line from Georgia, and he's a little bit of a knucklehead, but he's a great player. This Quay Walker out of linebacker out of Georgia also played well last year, covers a lot of field there. I mentioned Christian Watson already. All those guys were drafted last year. You said, why do you keep bringing this up? Because they also have a lot of really good players on rookie contracts. All right. So if Love is a total bust, you go back next year, you're going to have 2 first round next year. All right. Maybe you go find and here's the thing. You're not going to have a lot of cap issues. All right. You're not going to have a lot of cap issues next year because your roster, a big chunk of your roster is going to start adding up on rookie contracts. If not next year, the year after that, you have more and more money. There's going to be some free agents out there. All right. Who's to say that the guy, Jared Goff, in your own division is not going to be available? This is if Love can't play. If Love can play, this team is going to be a team on the rise. Now, I don't know if they're going to be better than Detroit. I think they'll look good early, fade late. And I think Detroit will probably still win this division, even though they've lost some wide receivers. They're going to get Williams back at their 6. Amon St. Brown is still there in Detroit. They still got that really good offensive line. Detroit's probably going to pick up another receiver in the later rounds. So Green Bay, you're loaded with capital here. And they traditionally draft pretty well. All right. Little suspect on Jordan Love, but they traditionally draft really well. So it's just simply not, it's just not all that bad for these guys. You know, it's not all that bad for neither team. Now, those are just early returns on what Spot Track said. Maybe there's some alternates to who carries what as far as Aaron Rodgers' salary. But again, if you get 2 to 3 years out of Rodgers, I think you've done well. And because you're not, it's not the end of the world if Rodgers don't work out. Now, if Rodgers just goes through training camp and says, I'm not feeling this, and walks out, then you're SOL. Then you're in bad shape if you're I don't think so, though. Remember last time he had his ego pressed and pushed. He goes out and wins MVP. Then he goes out and wins another MVP. When I was preparing for the day's program, I was watching him sow and soak in that 2005 draft. Just sit there and just pick after pick after pick, all the way down to 24. He walks out of the draft room. He walks back in. Tennessee Pickles had the 6th pick that year in 2005. They took Adam Jones when they had Steve McNair, but they end up drafting Goofy Vince Young the next year. So they could have had Aaron Rodgers at the 6th pick. Remember, he was supposed to go first over Alex Smith. Alex Smith ended up going first overall. You know, he had the awkward, Rodgers had the awkward football over the head. He did not have the best looking form, but he turned out to be a Hall of Famer, a first ballot Hall of Famer, Aaron Rodgers. If the Titans have them, history's rewritten. They probably win a Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers, that defense, that running game, they probably win the Super Bowl. You know, so he used that motivation. He sat on the bench for 3 years, but as soon as he got to play, 2 years later, he wins the Super Bowl. He wins the Super Bowl. So my thing is, get the offensive line, keep Rodgers healthy. You don't have to go crazy early. You don't have to go crazy early offensively. If you keep Rodgers healthy, keep a good running game there, make the throws when you need to. They're going to beat New England next year. They didn't beat New England this year. They're going to beat. They may split with Buffalo. They're probably, if both teams are healthy, they may split with the Miami. All right. So this is going to be. They can go head to head with a team like the Cincinnati Bengals. So you got to be really excited. On paper, games ain't played on. This is the best Jets team probably of my lifetime. On paper, they won in 68, folks. 1968 with Joe Namath. That's a long time ago, man. That's 53 years ago. Pickle says Detroit to be favored. Yeah, May the 11th will be the schedule release for the NFL. Can't wait. Can't wait. Tanyan, those fans, he needs to win for those fans and not to be crying. What's love got to do with it? That's funny, Carlos. That's funny. Love telling you, Buffalo using MapQuest when the rest of you is using Waze. That's funny. Funny guys. Funny guy. All right. Just read through some of the comments here. Committed to Salop to win. Yeah. Now, Salop's defensive guy, he's gotten his own best Jets team since 69. Pickles even says that. Yeah, I don't see why. I mean, remember, this team went to the AFC Championship with Mark Sanchez at quarterback, you know. They had Vinny Testaverde. And I love Curtis Martin. But that was their best player. It was Curtis Martin then. You know, they've had a great cornerback before in Revis. But this guy's right there with Revis. He may be better than Revis. He's taller than Revis, Sauce Gardner. Now, so anyways, I think the Jets won it. The fact that the Jets held that first round pick and got Rodgers and kept that second round pick too. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. It's not going to be that bad. Only thing that would be bad, essentially, if he quits. I don't think so. He's got a he's wanting to play, man. He's wanting to play. So, what about the weather? Well, hey, played in Green Bay for years. You know, is it windy up there? Yeah. But you do a lot of short passes. He got a lot of speed at wide receiver there between Mecole Hardman and Garrett Wilson. That screen passes. It's going to be about getting that line right. And that's the only thing, getting the offensive. And it wasn't terrible last year. It wasn't terrible. It really wasn't. There are worse offensive lines. Trust me, I'm out of Nashville. I know what a bad offensive line looks like. Okay. Playoffs. Back to the playoffs. Switching gears to the round ball. Now, I'll say this. That Sacramento series is Golden State, Sacramento, best series by far. Best series. Really lived up to the hype here. I thought maybe the Clippers would be there with Phoenix. I thought maybe Cleveland and the Knicks. Knicks has just got the edge, man. Knicks have the edge. They've got the experience. So, but like I said before, I mean, this Golden State team, what luck. I mean, they simply seem to get a break almost every year. They seem to get some kind of break. God, what's his name? I'll make sure I got this guy's name right. De'Aaron Fox has got a pinky fracture. He's going to try to play through it. All right. But the first indication was that he's going to be doubtful to play in Game 5 on Wednesday. Now, the later reports are that I'm going to make sure I got this right here. The later reports are that Fox would need to play with a protected covering on his. This is from ESPN, which is on his shooting hand. He will be listed as doubtful, though. Fox has followed up with a breakout season. He won the inaugural Clutch Player of the Year. They're tied 2-2. It makes me think about other times that Golden State has seemed to catch a break. Remember, they lose a pivotal Game 5 in a conference finals to the Houston Rockets a few years ago when Chris Paul goes down, and then they win 2 straight over the James Harden-led Rockets a few years ago. Go back a few years before that. Kyrie Irving gets hurt. LeBron takes Matthew Dellavedova and pushes this team with the Cleveland to 6 games. If he would have had Kyrie, they probably could have beat him then. All right. They just seem to catch break at the break. Now, of course, I know they fell apart one year. I want to say it was in 19. Yeah, it was in 19 when I think Clay got hurt, Durant gets hurt, and whatnot. And of course, but it seems like they seem to catch the breaks here. It was definitely looking like a Sacramento type of series. I've got some sound bites here from Draymond Green. I was impressed with what he said on his podcast and how that he took, the way he talked about, for one thing, Steph Curry called the timeout. He took blame for that. Steph Curry called a timeout yesterday, and they got a tech. That was 1993 national championship game, Pickles. That was Chris Webber in college. It don't look so bad if you win, but if you do that and you lose, Draymond Green takes full responsibility. He breaks that down. All right. So listen to what he says, explaining why Steph got this technical and why it was him to blame, not Steph, for this move. 22 seconds.
Oh, man, Steph shouldn't have done this. That's on me. After you outlet the ball, someone has to trail the play. You have to trail the play because if all else fails and the guy get trapped in that situation, he needs to be able to look back and just throw a simple outlet behind the play. So that's on me. I'm always the trailer in those situations.
He also mentioned the fact that he mentioned the fact that it's his it was on him to remind everybody we don't have any timeouts. And he messed up there as well. Okay. So he takes account for that. Now, I mentioned on Friday's program with Carlos Mad New Yorker Chavez, I said they played so well. I said, what's his name? Sabonis is killing Draymond Green. Maybe they just start Looney. Maybe they start Looney over Draymond Green. Listen to our program. Here's a soundbite from Friday's show.
Beat them and not having like, why don't you pop and stop?
Do you think Looney starts on game 4? Because Kerr he really likes to turn things around. I bring Draymond off the bench, kind of like he did last year. Yeah, he was benched in the Boston series. Here's Draymond Green. suggesting is on his show, The Volume. Draymond does his own podcast after. I mean, that would kind of annoy me if I'm a coach, but it's good content for my program. Draymond Green explaining why he suggested maybe I should come off the bench because he knows Sabonis is killing him out there. He's got 4 inches on him, and he's really coordinated. Draymond Green on why, hey, look, I'm cool with coming off the bench, man. Put Looney in there.
I came off the bench. I see that was made a very big deal. I thought that was a very simple thing. We won the game. It looked great. You do the same thing. I went to Coach Kerr after the game, and I went upstairs to his office, and I spoke to him, and he was excited as hell, and I was excited. And I told him right then, I'm like, yo, Coach, if I need to come off the bench, like, fine. Like, I'll come off the bench, no problem. And he's like, oh. Like, it almost caught him by surprise. Like, he's like, oh, yeah, all right, yeah, we'll talk about it. All right, like, it caught him by surprise. But I think that was important. Number one, if you see something that you feel like worked, which obviously Loon worked, if you say you want to stay there, obviously I have the resume that I have. I've helped win 4 championships, seniority, all those things. The one thing that I didn't want to happen was like I come back and everybody's like, oh, this worked. Well, Loon comes out the starting lineup. That's bullshit. Like,
excuse the language there. But so he makes a good point. You know, that's the team player. That's the guy from Michigan State. That's the 4-year mature player. That's why they've won 4 championships. That's why they've kept him around. What's he been there, 11 years? That's why they've kept him around 11 years for that type of leadership. So, hey, look, man, I know that, you know, he's got a player option for next year. He just gets suspended. He's suspended he's watching this blowout and watching how well Looney's playing Sabonis, which is not, I mean, Looney's still having his way with both of them, or Sabonis is still having his way with both of them. And he says, hey, look, man, I'll come off you can lower my minutes. I'm here to win. I'm here to win. So now I think Golden State's got the advantage. They're probably going to win, and they're going to play the winner of Memphis and the Lakers. Now, that's another series that's going to be tonight. John Morant comes back, scores 40-something points. Now, the Lakers win in a blowout, okay. But you've seen the way they finished that game. You've seen the depth of Memphis. So the Lakers, they can't be complacent tonight. They need to win this game and not go in there half-stepping. Or Memphis, I got a feeling Memphis is going to keep this within that 5-point spread. That 4.5, 5-point spread, and may outright beat the Lakers tonight, in my opinion. The way Jackson is playing in the middle, the way your role players, Dylan Brooks, Jones, Bain, just a deep Kennard, I think is his name, just a very deep team. They're a very scrappy team. They still play freely. They play like there's no pressure on them. Even though they're the 2 seed and the Lakers are the 7 seed, they're still a very young team. Now, Davis is going to have to step up. You guys know, and I know, he can fall apart anytime. So this sets it up again for, if Memphis wins tonight, this sets it up again for Golden State to catch another break. Memphis will end up pushing the Lakers to 6 or 7 games. Maybe Sacramento, I can see them winning it, or Golden State winning in 6, and then they go on and play a banged-up Laker team or a banged-up Memphis team. If you're a Laker fan, or if you're a Golden State hater, if you're one of them, you want the Lakers to win the night and close this thing out in 5. And then hopefully one of those games, and there's still some hope there that maybe Fox play. If I'm Fox, I'm putting something on this finger, and even if it is my shooting hand, I'm coming in as a decoy, and I'm playing as many minutes as I can, even if I score 4 or 5 points. You know, Do what you can to do. Get others involved. Others have got involved. Even on the road, this Murray's playing well. Young player they have. I've never heard of him. He's playing well for Sacramento. Sabonis, get the ball inside. Sabonis he'll have to dominate. I mean, he's going to have to be really aggressive. If I'm Mike Brown, I'm telling Sabonis, I need you to give me between 28 and 40. All right? Get inside, foul these two guys out. When you start getting double teamed, you still got Malik Monk. You still got some of these off shooters. Barnes, almost, man. This, like I said, this reminds me of that 20 years ago. Very similar scenario. You had a dynasty team in that Laker team. All right. You had a really good, higher seeded Sacramento King team led by Peja Stojakovic, Vadi Divac, Mike Bibby, Weber. Weber was not the main player. I trusted Bibby and Peja over Weber. Weber's a big choke artist, okay? And this team smokes this team in game 2. They smoked the Lakers in game 3. They had the lead most of the game in game 4. Big shot Bob hits the 3. Wins the game. The rest is history. They lose it in 7. Lakers go on and sweep that Nets team. What if Harrison Barnes hits that shot yesterday? Then they go up 3-1. They go up 3-1. And then they've got, 3 more times to win one game. I like their odds, So you can see the irony. Plus, this is somewhat of a dynasty team. They're the team of the decade or whatever you want to call them. The Golden State Warriors, 4 championships, right? Okay. So that being said, I still feel like my original predictions were right. They're going to wear themselves down going through this team. All right. Even if Davis plays all the way, or if for whatever reason Memphis comes back and win, Memphis got a deep team too. Memphis matches up pretty well against them. They match up well. They're going to have to go fight Memphis. And then they'll have to play the winner of Denver and Denver's up 3-1 and Phoenix up 3-1. Okay. So if you look at that, then you got to say, okay, well, look how good Boston is. They'll have to play at Boston. By the way, Giannis is back tonight, and Milwaukee's back favored again to come back and win that series. Okay? They're favored to come back and win that series. Boston's playing like Boston. They got, they gave up one game. I said that they'll close this out in 5 with Atlanta. They'll close that out in 5. 76ers, they win, but you got a knee sprain for Joel Embiid. And Doc Rivers said today he's 50-50. Some things stay the same, right? So I can see maybe Giannis, that was just a contusion. Maybe this was more precautionary, and they go on a run. They run the table and go on a run. Boston, both of those teams would have home court advantage against Phoenix or a 6 seed led by a 35-year-old Steph Curry. All right. So it's okay. Knicks. Almost forgot about the Knicks things. Looks like the Knicks are probably going to win this thing in probably 5, maybe 6. Kudos to the Knicks. But I do feel like I was vindicated about Donovan Mitchell, folks. Donovan Mitchell would not have gelled well, Knicks fans, even though you got your Stephen A. Smiths of the world saying that would have been fine, and he was ticked off. The Knicks should have gave more. No, the Knicks keep those picks. Maybe the Knicks go after a Draymond Green in the offseason. Maybe they go after a Luka, although that would be a big stretch. Green would come off the bench for the Knicks. He would fit in perfectly. He would be more of a rich man's Charles Oakley. He would be like a role player. He would have championship pedigree. He'd be 34. But he won't have a bigger. I'm spitballing here, but something like that for this Knicks team next season. Now, going back to Mitchell. Mitchell shot 18 shots for 11 points. For 11 points for that Cleveland team. Okay? Their point guard, Garland, he should be the player that offense runs through, not Donovan Mitchell. Garland is polished, defense, can shoot well. He is a really good. One guy, somebody says, I've been down all day about my Cavs. Yeah, I thought the Cavs would win, but Mitchell did not get along with Gobert. Snyder seemed to be frustrated. I like Mitchell when he first came in the league, but he's too ball-centric. You could say that about Brunson, but Brunson will shoot when needed. Will pass when needed. He's got a good feel. Colin Coward calls it awareness and self-awareness, something Russell Westbrook does not have. Pickles thinks they'll get one. You know, so that was a good thing they didn't get Mitchell. All right. Mobley, a shining star for Cleveland. Darius Garland, you're seeing his star come out. All right. They may need another coach. They don't have any fluidity. Of course, Barrett has shined in these playoffs. Anything, maybe Carlos, maybe you move Randall in the offseason. You know, do you move Randall on all these picks and go after, I don't know, maybe a Lillard, maybe a Luka, but you'd have to give up a lot to get Luka. I get it. But they seem like they're just a player short. But I will say this. The Knicks fans act like they won Game 7 of the finals. It's great. It is great for the city. And it's great for the fan base. Quite frankly, it's great for the NBA. It's really good for the NBA and what the Knicks are doing. The Knicks, essentially, use a football term, they need an offensive coordinator. They need more movement. They're better than Cleveland. Cleveland is, hey, Donovan Mitchell, you get the ball, you run up and take a bad shot in the corner. Darius Garland, you get the ball and you take a bad shot in the other corner. And occasionally we'll feed Mobley in underneath, or Mobley or Jared Allen will get a putback. You know, Allen's starting to show his age. Allen looks to be wearing down in this series. I remember Jared Allen when he was with the Nets. That's the Jared Allen. I remember Jared Allen with the bigger afro, the guy who pinned back LeBron, who blocked LeBron at the rim. But that was 5-6 years ago. Allen's not quite that athletic now. Mobley is. But you look at guys like Toppin, that other guy, I can't remember his name for the Knicks. But maybe you simply want to move Garrett. Yeah, and that is also Ime Udoka. Yeah, so the Knicks are a great story. I don't know. I think the Knicks play, I want to say they play, not sure who they play in the next series. Not Boston. I think they'll play the Milwaukee winner. That's what it is. They'll play the Milwaukee winner. Boston will play, likely, if Boston wins, and they will, they'll play the Atlanta, they're going to play Philadelphia. And, of course, they're going to beat Philly. I mean, Embiid's already got a knee sprain. But it's their first win in 10 years, So it's good for the NBA. Maybe that'll keep Thibodeau around 1 year and keep your Carlos, Matt New York, or Chavez's at bay. They do need an offensive guy to help out with that. And they need to add a player. And if you got to move off Randall to do it, to get more offense, I would do that. As much as I like Randall, you eventually have to make moves to get better. Okay, That's food for thought. I know we still got July before the free agency starts, and the season's not over with. So it's a huge win. I thought Cleveland would beat them. Cleveland had the home court. They've had the younger, more energetic team. They had the more talented team on paper, but there's a buy-in with New York Knicks, and they have a slight advantage there on experience, and it shows. And it shows. And I did want to add, Draymond Green said he loves the way Thibodeau coaches. He says, man, I really like the way this man coaches. His teams always play defense, and you got to respect that. That's Draymond Green from Golden State. Hey, wouldn't you like that guy coming off your bench next year? That would help. That would help your leadership. He fit right in with New York. He's blue collar. He's not going to give Thibodeau a lot of crap. Okay, Ahmed Duka. Yes, Ahmed is talented people get second chances. Essentially, fired Boston coach their inappropriate relationship with a staffer. We know what happened. Joe Mazzulla signed as a full-time coach there. Houston's way off the radar right now. Houston has a chance to get Victor Wembanyama, Ima, if he can keep if he can keep his nose clean. And Houston, hey, look, man, you got an Oklahoma State team that's on the come up. You've got a Utah team that's on the come up. You're competing with San Antonio. Texas teams just did not have a good year. You're competing with San Antonio for that number one pick. Victor Wembanyama, the second pick will probably be Brandon Miller out of Alabama. Pickles says he'll be back next year. And I like Barrett, too, by the way. So, Houston, they're talking about bringing back Harden. I wouldn't bring back Harden. I would stay young. You know, maybe you get Matt Miller. Maybe you get Wembanyama. And Ahmed Duka, I hope he gets another chance because I think he is a good coach. I liked what he did. I like the fact that the bell went off for that Boston team last year. It didn't go off the year before that with the same group of guys. And now they're playing that well again. They're going to finish out Atlanta. But Houston, it's going to be a rebuild. But, hey, you know, Oklahoma City, really Sam Presti, man, very good. A very good general manager there. So I'm okay with that. Best of luck to Ime. I knew somebody would pick him up. I definitely knew somebody would pick him up. So, okay, a few announcements here. Tomorrow, Skip Hall will be on. No matter what happens with Skip's connection, this is former Boise State coach, Washington coach. He coached under, Don James, Pickles? Don James, which was a top 50 coach here at in college football history. Okay, Skip Hall coached at Kent State. He coached Nick Saban. All right, he coached with Nick Saban at Kent State. I've got his book. I don't have it with me now. It's in my living room. Coach 'em up. Nick Saban wrote the forward, Pickles, in this book. You know, Skip Hall sent me a text, said, you want me to send you the book? I said, well, I've already ordered it from Amazon. Well, that book came in yesterday, and I've got it. So I'm going to ask Skip Hall. I'm going to say, well, you know, Coach, since I did order the book, you think we could set up an interview with Nick Saban? Can I get Nick Saban on SportsScope? All right. So I'm sure Nick probably be like, well, Coach, in all due respect, I don't have time to do podcasts. I barely got time to do the regular media. But anyways, Corey, so tomorrow, Skip Hall, former 30 years in college football coaching. He was a head coach at Boise State too, by the way. 87 to 92. We'll talk about his coaching career. We'll talk about his book. I'll ask him about Nick Saban this year. What does he think they're going to do? How good is Georgia? I'll ask him about those sort of things. Also, thank you, Pickles. Good call. Yeah, and that's what I'm going to say. Can we get Nick Saban on the program? Nick Saban will probably snap at me, but hey, if he does, that'll go viral. That'll help our program grow. That'll help the program grow. And now Wednesday, I'll have Rich Ferris on. He's been back on the program. Rich works with Cumulus Radio, 104.5 The Zone, local here in Nashville. They cover the Titans games. He's going to give me some information about the Titans. Titans have been rumored now to be interested in trading Ryan Tannehill. They've been interested in quarterbacks. I'm going to ask him about that because Thursday's the draft. No show Thursday. I may show a replay of one of my other interviews, but you can check me out around the time the Titans pick when they're on the clock on Northeast Streaming Mac and Jack draft show. I'll be on there probably 30 minutes or so, right around that. And, of course, Friday, Carlos Mad, New Yorker Chavez. So we got a great week here on Sports Scope, everybody. A lot of people, guests wanting to get on the program. I didn't even ask Skip Hall. He asked me to come on this program. So that's due to you sharing this program, folks. That's due to you. I have not spent money this year on advertising. That's you sharing the program, getting word of mouth out there. Now, I'm going to budget advertising sometime later on this summer. But as far as right now, that is, your Lindas of the world of Northeast Streaming Sports, Olivia, sharing the program here. Carlos, everybody letting me tag them with it. Brittany, Lindsay, my nieces there. Victoria. Okay, Crystal always. My sister's always sharing the program, liking my stuff. Really appreciate it. Pickles has always been a big help here with Recall here. Mac and Jack with the that's a good question, Pickles. I don't know why that they make that feel blue. That is a good question. I'm gonna if you can remember, if I don't remember to ask that, you ask that, and I'll show it up here on the screen. Now, if Skip has more, if he has problems with his connection, they're going very old school. We're going to go Larry King Live. I've got my phone stand here, folks, and I'm going to put Skip on speakerphone. I've already tried this out with the podcast yesterday. The sound quality is great. It's great. So I'll be able to read your questions. I'll relay them back to Skip if he has connection problems like he did last week. I always thought because the writer of the Smurfs cartoon came from Boise, Idaho, is the reason why the field is blue. Of course, that is totally made it up because I like the Smurfs growing up. But that is Boise's an interesting program. They had one of the Statue of Liberty play in the bowl game against Oklahoma. Chris Peterson coached there. Boise's had some good. And, he's in Boise, Idaho. So I'm asking him about that and, about Nick Saban, about his career. He worked at Aflac 10 years in his book. So it's going to be a really good time. I can tell by listening to him. He's going to be a good interview. He's going to be great. And I cannot wait to get him on there. Again, also, I've got about 15 pages, Pickles, of swagger by Jimmy Johnson. And I'm going to go through Hades and hot water to get the former Dallas Cowboy coach on here, either through Jim Jeffcoat or probably one of his co-author, this Dave Hyde. I'm going to reach him and try to get Jimmy Johnson. So we're thinking big here. We're thinking big. Think big or go home. I'm going to flat out ask Skip tomorrow, is there any way I get Nick Saban on the program? Even if it's just for 15 minutes or so. We want to get Jimmy Johnson on there, he worked for Aflac for 10 years. I don't know if he got Nick Saban that deal with Aflac, So got a lot to go, talk about tomorrow. Hey, look, Lamar Jackson, that deal hasn't dropped yet, okay? Rodgers has dropped here. So There's a lot of stuff to wait. Does Brian Tannehill get traded? Does Derrick Henry get traded? Does DeAndre Hopkins from Arizona get traded? Does Carolina keep that number 1 pick? All this stuff is still on the horizon here on Sports Scope, and I'm monitoring every minute of it. It's a lot of fun ever. So I'll see you guys tomorrow, same time, same place here on Sports